TheDailyMass.com. Experience the Roman Catholic Mass from historic St. Louis Cathedral every day on TheDailyMass.com. His love, anywhere in the world.
Good evening, I'm Sarah McDonald.
And I'm Jason Angelette. Welcome to Issues in Faith.
Well, we are already to April.
Yeah, happy Easter.
Happy Easter to all of our viewers.
Indeed.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in to watch our Triduum services over the Easter Triduum. I know I myself benefited from having the services on television.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get the family out to see those beautiful services, and so it's a beautiful gift that we're able to have the station to turn to.
That's right. And so as we enter the final 9 weeks of many of our school years, we also have several ordinations coming up. And tonight we wanted to ask our viewers to join us in praying for the men who will be ordained transitional deacons at the end of May. And then Deacon Chris will be ordained a priest in June. And then we have a class of men who will be ordained permanent deacons at the end of June, on June 27th. And so, so many people who have spent so much time in formation and discernment and prayer to serve God in His church. And so we want to ask all of our viewers to pray for these men as they prepare for those final steps of
No, absolutely. I mean, it's such a great time of formation, and I'm sure they're very excited about this. I mean, I went to my brother-in-law, Father Bo, his ordination, and it was so beautiful to watch the whole, everything. And so just keep them in prayer, and obviously too, I mean, it's open to the public, so anybody, if they would like, they can come check it out. They can find the dates online.
And we have plans, many of you who may have tuned in for Bishop Cherie's ordination.
That's right.
We got a lot of very positive feedback from that, and doing the pregame, as my husband called it, ordination pregame. And so we're hopefully going to be able to offer something like that again.
Oh, that'd be great.
For the priesthood ordination and for the permanent diaconate ordination. Really Archbishop Amen was very pleased, Bishop Cherie was very pleased, and our viewers were very pleased as well. And so we'll definitely be streaming the services, and hopefully broadcasting some of it. We'll have to work out all of those details, but please, please, please keep these men in prayer, and their families as well. You know, the vocations so often begin in the home. For those who will be ordained transitional deacons and priests, their families are as excited as if their son was going to be married. And, you know, it's that thing. And for the permanent deacons, it's a ordination for the deacon, the husband, but in their cases, there is a wife that goes through formation. The deacons' wives are an incredible part of their ministry. And
absolutely, praying for them and the family too, because it's without their yes is instrumental for the husband to be able to give his yes to the church.
That's exactly right. So again, keep those prayers up, and we'll be bringing you more news about that very soon.
Looking forward to it.
If there is one message we continue hearing from Pope Francis, it's his call to be a welcoming and joyful church. Well, what is more welcoming and joyful than sitting down to share a beer with old or new friends? Joining us tonight via Skype is the Catholic Drinkie herself, Sarah Vabulous, author of the Catholic Drinkie's Guide to Homebrewed Evangelism. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on.
Well, we're very happy to have you. Obviously, with a moniker or a handle like Catholic Drinkie, you should be from New Orleans and not from Atlanta, because obviously New Orleans is so well known for Bourbon Street and so much else, but also its Catholicism. So we're very happy to have you here with us via Skype, and hope one day you can come actually visit us here in the city.
Oh, I'd absolutely love that. It's been years since I've been to New Orleans, and I don't think that I got the full experience, so need to come back.
Well, you have been working as Catholic Drinkie, tweeting, following on Facebook, blogging for a couple of years now. How did that get started?
So I got started at a Catholic New Media conference up in Boston that was put on by an organization called SQPN. And they were making jokes about particular blogs that existed sponsored by the SQPN organization. And one of them is New Orleans' own most beloved Catholic Foodie, which is written by Jeff Young, and he's such an awesome guy. And so they were just giving Jeff a little bit of a hard time, saying, well, you know, there's the Catholic Foodie, but a blog that we would surely never support would be called Catholic Drinky. And I just said to myself, I need to be doing this. I had been into beer for several years at that point and had become somewhat of a beer snob or expert, insert whatever word you like here, and had been encouraged by several friends, including Lino Rulli, and thought, you know, maybe I should just pick this up and go with it. So sat there live at this conference and bought the URL and just went rolling, and it's just been just a super ride ever since. Can't believe it'll be 5 years this August.
Wow, that is an amazing ride. And you've grown in popularity, but you always, no matter whether you're giving recipes for your latest beer, homebrewed beer, you always keep the focus on your Catholic faith and how you're living that faith in your life. What brought you here? How did you even get to that Catholic New Media conference?
So I've always been into the internet and things online. I remember signing up for my first email address in the mid-90s, and then when websites started to become more of a mainstream thing, I built websites. So I've always been into the web and new media. And when I was confirmed in high school, that's really when I decided to live my faith. And so I spent college kind of wrestling between like what I wanted to do for a living and my love for technology, but also just my love for God and how we can make all this work. And when I graduated, I worked in Congress for a few years. And after that, I decided I wanted to do something else with my life and got into social media. So I now work as a social media consultant. And it's only natural that since I love the web as much as I do, that I would share my other two passions, and that's being Catholic and beer or liquor or insert whatever drink here.
No, I think it's good because, as I said in the intro, Pope Francis is calling us to be welcoming, to be joyful, to be a church that lives in the world but not of the world. And if I've taken anything from reading your blogs and following you on Facebook and Twitter, it's that you are definitely living in the world. You are engaging your friends on social media, you're engaging your friends in your home, you're bringing people together and creating this fellowship that you also share your faith with. And so what kind of reaction do you get from people when you say, hi, I'm the Catholic Drinky?
It's mostly positive. I've really never had someone be rude to me, which has been super awesome. Most of the time, people are surprised. Number one, that a woman would be interested in beer. Number two, that someone who claims to be Catholic, very religious, would also want to talk about alcohol. That's just something that's always shocking to folks. And so they always have great questions, whether they're someone who's maybe a fallen away Catholic, which is definitely my favorite person to engage with, obviously from a non-judgmental standpoint, just like to talk to them, or maybe they're a Protestant or they're nothing. It's just interesting for them to actually meet someone who's not a priest or not a lot of people know, sisters, but, a minister of some sort that is so proud of their faith. They're just really surprised by that. And it's something that they're interested in. And I think the reason for that is all of us deep down, whether we know it or not, have a yearning for God. And so that interest peaks because people don't understand religion, but there's something deep in their soul that drives them to want to ask questions.
And that's a great point, because I always think if you can get somebody to the point where they're asking a question, that means, just like you said, you've piqued that interest, you've stirred their heart in a way that is engaging them. And so that's the first step in being able to either introduce or reintroduce faith. And you're doing it in a way that is so unique. And like you said, you are a woman, you are not a cleric, you are not a religious, you have a job outside of your social media posting, and people can relate to you in a way that is different, but is such a witness, and we're all called to be that witness.
Yeah, and it's just so much fun. A couple weeks ago, I was out in California for work and out for a happy hour with one of my customers, and got into a discussion with one of the guys who is a community manager for the company that we were out there visiting. And he openly admitted, he's like, well, you know, I'm spiritual, but I'm not very religious, and I'm into like meditation and all of this. And you know, my blog came up because I showed them it live in some of our sessions, some of my analytics that went alongside it. And he was really excited, and he's like, I've never met somebody who's like religious but so cool about it. And it's just something that I just try to be as normal as I can be, so that when folks want to ask questions about the faith, I don't come off as judgmental or forcing anything on them, but rather a place for them to come and genuinely ask questions and learn more.
And so now, 5 years after getting started at that social media conference, Catholic social media conference, you are an author. So now you've gone from new media to old media. You're writing a book. How did that come about, and what's that experience been like?
Oh man, it's just been such a blessing. Liguori Publications, which is a Catholic publisher outside St. Louis, reached out to me. I guess it's been about a year at this point. That seems about right. Saying, you know, we'd be interested in having you write a book for us. And at first I just thought it was a little bit of a joke. You know, here I am. Well, half the time people take me seriously, and half the time they don't in the Catholic space, just because I blog about alcohol. But they're just been such an amazing company to work with. And we've got the book almost all done now at this point. And, you know, I still can't believe I actually wrote a book. It's a little crazy, something I never thought in a million years I'd ever do. Though, you know, true confessions, I've always been a bit of a writer. I just never thought I'd do anything with it beyond the blog. And so this has just been incredible, and I can't wait for folks to read it and hopefully give positive remarks. I am a bit nervous as well in case it does flop.
Well, you're a first-time author. I think that's to be expected. Well, what can people kind of expect from the book? Is it going to be like essays of your blog, or where are you going? What's the point with it?
Sure. So it's definitely a jack of all trades sort of book, which is how I feel about myself. I know a lot about I know a lot, or a little about a lot of things, I guess is how I should say that. But it's got some beer recipes in it. So that takes up about half the book, is learning how to homebrew. But also I talk about all of the monks that have brewed beer through the centuries, and go through a history of each of those breweries in Europe, and now one here in the United States. I also talk about tips and tricks of how to evangelize, both in person and online, as well as telling some of my favorite stories about evangelizing at the bar. And my favorite chapter is one I wrote about the wedding at Cana. So I've got some exegesis in there, and I unpack truly what happened at that very first miracle that Jesus performed, between what he did and what Mary asked of him, and how that relates to us as Catholics and brings Mary really into the picture.
Well, Sarah, I got to tell you, when I told my husband that I was going to be interviewing a Catholic home brewer, his interest was piqued. He's looking forward to reading your book and learning more about you as well. And I am very grateful that you will be here. We're running out of time, but quick, when will the book be available?
It is available June 1st, but you can pre-order it now from Amazon or from Liguori Publications.
Wonderful. Well, again, Sarah, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for being that witness in the workplace, in the bar, online. We appreciate your work, and we will be continuing to follow you.
Thanks. Appreciate all you guys do as well.
Well, thanks so much. And you can learn more about Sarah and pre-order her book online at CatholicDrinky.com. And keep up with her via Twitter and Facebook by following and liking Catholic Drinky. And when we come back, how can families keep the Easter celebration through Pentecost? Jason sits down to learn more right here on Issues in Faith.
What will the world ask of them? Whatever it is, they'll be prepared to answer. Because in a safe and disciplined environment, Louisiana Catholic schools shape tomorrow's leaders. Catholic students are rising. 99% graduate. Almost all go to college. They'll earn higher wages, be community involved, more tolerant of diverse views. And the world will be better because of them. Louisiana Catholic Schools. in a class of their own.
What you might be thinking, the Easter celebration has just begun. Joining us tonight to talk about how all of us, but especially families, can keep the Easter season a joyful and active one is Dave Dawson, Director of the Archdiocese of New Orleans Fame Life Apostolate. Dave Dawson Jr., thank you very much for being with us.
Absolutely, glad to be here.
So, well, first, welcome. I know this. You've been with the Archdiocese since July.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
So, but let's jump into this conversation.
Yeah.
One of the things that we, as Catholics, we see, with Christmas.
Right.
Right. Around town, decorations,
Right.
Neighbors' houses are all fancy and all that.
That's right.
Christmas Day, Christmas, the day after. It's all gone.
That's right.
It's taking it down and thinking that the Christmas day season is over, but it's more than just one day.
Absolutely. And there's a small difference with the Christmas, ending the day after and with Easter, because not a whole lot of people, at least in the world, you don't see a whole lot of Advent stuff happening. The waiting aspect for Advent isn't as intense or as felt as with Easter.
Right.
I mean, Lent, we're white knuckling through Lent because we got a goal.
Right. We're hungry.
That's right.
We want to enjoy some chocolates that we might have enjoyed.
Right.
Taken
or
away from
caffeine
ourselves.
or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So we end up powering it out through Lent, focusing on Easter. And we, whether we do well or not, we're still focused on that end goal.
Right.
Well, then we get there, and the day of, maybe the day after, we're pounding down the chocolate,
right.
I remember being a kid, that's what we did,
that's right.
Whatever you gave up, you were just
ready
indulging.
to enjoy.
Right, and the sweetness of it, and it doesn't last very long. No. So the Easter season then doesn't last very long because it's kind of defined by being able to dive into what I was giving up, so it's, unfortunately, we get caught up into that, so we end up, really losing the depth of just the greatness of what Easter's providing. It's given me what I didn't have before, not because I gave it up, but because God is providing something new.
That's right.
There's a newness there that we tend to lose.
No, absolutely. And so when we look at the Easter season, it's not just Easter Sunday, but it goes on.
That's right.
And so what can families do to kind of capture that joy that can easily be lost if we just kind of close that door and then try to move on to the next thing?
Absolutely. I think for one thing, one of the ways that the church tends to do it, which we've kind of taken on in our family, is you get a lot of resurrection story in the readings of the Mass, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so I would say, one of the things that we do, I've got little kids, and so we have our family prayer in the evenings. And at the end of the prayer, we will sing some kind of song, and if it's during regular, ordinary time, we sing Immaculate Mary. It's easy enough, they can learn, even the little ones can sing Ave Maria.
Right.
And then during Advent, of course, it's O Come, Come Emmanuel.
Yeah.
During Easter, we sing, Jesus Christ is risen today.
Yes.
And even the little ones can sing the Alleluia. And so they love it. And it provides a tradition, they look forward to it. And even if they've been completely clocked out during the prayer, they catch in during the screaming the Alleluia part.
That's right.
And they recognize something's happening that's different than the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So I think for kids especially, within the family tradition, if you can provide just very, very basic stuff like that.
Yes.
Or look, we put these decorations for 50 days, we don't take them off, in the center of the table, right?
Right.
Or even, I would say if your kid's a little bit older, I'd say maybe 8, 9, 10, a little bit older.
Right.
Go start really digging into those resurrection stories.
Yeah.
I mean, they're intense. And if you tell it like a story, I mean, if you're able to internalize it and be like, hey, look, these people are fired up. They go from being so sad to, just overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And the kids easily catch on to that, So I would say family prayer during that time.
Yes.
That's one of your best bets.
Yeah, I think sometimes we can kind of, just think that we have to do so much, and when we realize, I'm not really doing that much, and then it becomes overwhelming.
Absolutely.
But just taking those small steps and just finding something that can work for your family dynamic and your schedule, and but doing something, taking a step, and say maybe this year it's this thing, and then maybe next year we'll look down and see how we can make it happen more for the next year.
Yeah, definitely. We get caught. I mean, I do too. Thinking I've got to do it either perfect or not at all.
Right.
This year, my kid's got to be, dressed like the risen Christ for 50 days, otherwise I can't do anything. And I think, these small things, doing if you got little girls, a little printout of a coloring sheet of the empty tomb or Mary Magdalene, so that there's some focus on it.
Yeah.
Some reflection, and depending on the age, you can go deeper with the reflection opportunities. But certainly, the four Gospels give us so many details of that particular story.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, go small.
No, and also too, like you said, I think of, you know, when you say decorating your house, right? We do that for Christmas, you know, and you know, different times of the year we decorate the house, but like just like a church.
Yes.
A church has different colors, and those colors are out during that time, and those colors mean something, and so allowing when someone walks into a church, there's a sense of like, I know what time it is.
Right.
And so having your house being that domestic church and kind of flavoring it up and having those things in the house to remind us of what the season is.
Absolutely, and it's easy to take advantage of some of the symbols that the church gives us. For instance, you know, lilies. You get some white lilies. I mean, they're not hard to find this time of year.
Yeah.
You know, get a few, plant them in the yard once you're done in the house, whatever. But like, so that way the kids are seeing, and take some time, Google why lilies.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I would suggest, you know, not that the rabbit or anything is terrible, but like, try going for some of those symbols that are going to really bring a deeper reflection. Right.
That's right.
So the lilies, you know, do some. We had a calendar that it was on the fridge for Lent, and it was, you know, like a pathway, and they colored a square for every day, so they're really antsy to get through with it. And they have Easter calendars too that you can print off the internet, and the kids can go up, color a square on the fridge, so they see, look, we got 40 days for Lent. We've got 50 days for Easter.
Yeah.
What does that tell us? You know, what's more important? What's more, you know, worthy of spending time with? You know?
Yeah, that was a discussion back at the house, was which one's more important, Easter or Christmas? And then one of my daughters said, well, there wouldn't be Easter if without a Christmas. I'm like, well, the point of the Christmas was to get to that Easter, right?
That's right.
So, so you just, those moments of kind of teaching, it's amazing what the kids, they do pick up, and they do what they, and how they can learn the faith, and it requires us to learn more of the faith, right?
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting. I always say, growing up, my dad was such a huge piece of that for me, because as a guy, I needed to hear a man really work through it intellectually, you know, and he was, it's not like he was going, you know, theological, but he would sit, we'd read through a passage, and we're being 10, 11, 12, and he'd be like, you know what, this is what really stands out to me. What do you think? You know? And to enter into this conversation, he was able to do that for me as a young boy. And like, I remember thinking like, I could do this with him, you know, like, and I felt good about that. Like, this is real. You know, so I think you're right. I mean, if we as parents are able to really dive into it and get excited about it ourselves, that ends up being the most important thing.
I like how you said engaging them in the conversation, because sometimes I feel like, and I can get like this, especially with my kids, is that I'm used to telling them things, and they're like, okay, here Dad's telling me something new. But if like giving them an opportunity to respond and asking them how they feel, then there's like, wait, you care about what I say? Of course I care about what you say. What do you think about this? And then kind of helping them, guiding them in that conversation, to helping them to see the richness and the beauty, and then helping them to reflect on it a little bit more too.
Absolutely, no, that's huge, and it's amazing what they come out with. You know, it's amazing that just the perspective that they provide. You know, that they're able to break through. You know, you're trying to break through some of what the culture tends to push, and some of the limited ideas, you know, of what Easter is. But as soon as you start getting excited about it, as soon as you start sharing the story, and you get some feedback, you realize like they're going to break through that on their own. You know, it's amazing what they're able to accomplish.
Well, we're running out of time, so tell us, where can people get more information about the Family Life Apostolate, things that y'all are doing?
Honestly, to make it easy, if you go to arch-no.org, right, and just go to the Family Life portion of the ministries list, that's your best bet. Otherwise,
you'll be able to see more. If anybody has any questions, they can find you. And
please check us out. It's we've got a ton of wonderful resources, just simple stuff for great families.
Well, Mr. Dave Dawson, thank you very much for being with us. God bless you all that you're doing and your family.
Thank you.
Get more resources for Catholic Family Life online at arch-no.org. And we'll be right back with more Issues in Faith.
WRBH 88.3 FM provides blind and print handicapped listeners with programs that inform and entertain. To learn more, contact 504-899-1144 or WRBH.org.
Billed as a night in Haiti, the parishioners at Mary Queen of Peace on the North Shore didn't have to go far to get there. The parish supports a small community in the earthquake-ravaged country, and this particular evening, held at the church's school cafeteria in Mandeville, was a chance to show off the accomplishments and to thank those who helped make change happen in a faraway mission field. Janet Gross takes us to the party.
It's full of vitamins. How's that?
Island drinks and island food. This party lets them see the fruit of their gifts to a faraway place, helping people they don't know and may never meet.
It is certainly very important, not just for the people in Haiti, Saint Benoit, who benefit from the fundraiser, such as tonight, but also for our parishioners to participate in the mission of the church, and that is to care for those who in country that have great needs, especially the people in Haiti since the earthquake.
The pictures of St. Benoit in Source, Haiti show the faces and the reasons for the fundraisers they've held over the past 5 years.
We're almost finished with the elementary school. They've increased their enrollment from about 75 to 500 students. The 15-year-olds don't mind being in 6th grade because they all want to go to school, and providing clean water to a community that had to walk 2 hours round trip with the construction of the new well that was finalized last year. So that was huge.
Our whole parish is twinning with their parish. So we feel like we are brothers and sisters. For us, we know that there are brothers and sisters there, and they know that there's brothers and sisters here too. So it's that connection. It's not just about sending them money, it's about we know them personally, we know them by name, we have their pictures here on the wall, so they're real people for us.
New backpacks will go with the mission team this time, a special treat for the kids there. Education is a key component of this mission. As the buildings go up, the details become important.
With being able to provide chalk, erasers, giving the kids the opportunity to be able to use colors, to actually be able to write. I think in the school, they are sitting, repeating, echoing what the teacher's trying to teach them. So hopefully we're going to be bringing them some paper pencil activities to do with the kids.
Money raised at this event will help pay teacher salaries, about $100 a month.
Well, that's a big salary for them because before we got there, they had no salary at all. Now their houses are simple. They have no running water. They have no electricity. They cook outdoors. So, like with $100, you can get food on the table.
It's like going back into the 18th century, literally. It really is. There's no running water. There's no electricity. Most of the kids aren't in school. If they get one meal a day, they're lucky. A lot of them die before they're 5 years old.
Those who get to go to school are assured of at least one meal a day, and now a clean, bright place to learn. And in their new church, they pray for the people at Mandeville's Mary Queen of Peace, their faraway friends who've reached out to help.
It's part of being Catholic, part of being the universal church. We know that the church is everywhere in the whole world, but that's just the saying. But for us, it's real because we go to Haiti and they're waiting for us, and we know that the universal church is real for us.
Even now, they're waiting in Haiti. And while only 5 will go on this year's mission trip, they carry the generosity and love of 3,000 others at Mary Queen of Peace. I'm Janet Gross for Issues and Faith.
The generosity of this church and its supporters is amazing. They've managed to raise about $90,000 a year, and while they supply the funds and some supplies, the villagers in Haiti do all of the work in building a real partnership between the parishes.
Don't forget you can join the conversation via email by writing us at issuesandfaith@WLAE.com or by finding us on Facebook.
And that's our program for this evening. For all of us at Issues and Faith, thanks for watching.
We'll be back next week. Hope you join us again soon. Until then, God bless.